Ukraine claims it still controls parts of Bakhmut after Russian forces said they had finally captured the besieged eastern city. The conflicting claims follow months of toil in a city where Russian soldiers had to toil for every inch of territory. Ukraine has turned the battle for a largely insignificant city in the Donbas into a monumental struggle that has encapsulated the slow-moving and territorial nature of a land war. Bakhmut is in the northeastern Donetsk region, about 13 miles from the Luhansk region, and has long been a target for Russian forces. Since last summer, this city is very close from the front line. The Russian troops, backed by members of the Wagner mercenary group, have taken heavy losses trying to take the city. A video shows a quadrocopter of the 66th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the 3SU Army destroying the invaders' ammunition depot, although it was a field one, but quite large. After all, after the explosion of a small grenade, such a powerful explosion occurs that a flash of flame covers the entire field of view of the unmanned aerial vehicle's video camera. Meanwhile, missile and artillery units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces in the past day also hit 3 control points, 4 concentration points of weapons and military equipment, ammunition storage, 2 artillery units in firing positions, and 3 other important targets of the Russian invaders. This, among other things, was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the morning summary published on the official Facebook page. Who controls the besieged eastern Ukrainian city of Bakhmut? It depends who you ask. According to Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of the Russian mercenary organization Wagner, his troops have captured all the territory they promised to take, down to the last square centimeter. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his troops were still fighting in Bakhmut. The conflicting claims follow months of toil in a city where Russian soldiers had to toil for every inch of territory. Yet, despite Russia's pouring of manpower and resources into capturing the city, its military value has long been questioned by Western analysts, Ukrainian officials, and even Prigozhin himself, who claimed earlier this month that Bakhmut had no strategic importance. Instead, Prigozhin claims he intends to weaken the Ukrainian forces using tactics he has often compared to a meat grinder, sending wave after wave of his own soldiers into battle. But this tactic comes at a heavy and unsustainable cost. In the past day, the aviation of the Ukrainian Defense Forces carried out 15 sorties on places of concentration of the Russian occupiers' manpower and military equipment, including 3 on its anti-aircraft missile systems. This, among other things, was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the morning summary published on the official Facebook page. Meanwhile, the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, named after Colonel-General Mark Bezruchka, continues to actively use unmanned aviation at the front. Bakhmut's fall will be an unquestionable boost for Prigozhin, who recently announced his men would be in full retreat as dwindling ammunition supplies and mounting losses mean there is nothing left to grind meat. The battle also highlighted the tremendous rift among the Russian troops, with Prigozhin at one point accusing the Russian brigade of abandoning its positions in the city and lambasting the Ministry of Defense several times for a lack of ammunition. While it is uncertain whether Bakhmut had completely fallen to Wagner's troops, new figures have made it clear that not much remains in the city. The city has been devastated by Russian attacks for months, street after street, drawing comparisons with other cities that have borne the full brunt of Russian aggression, such as Grozny and Aleppo. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military reported on May 22 that it had advanced from 200 to 400 meters in several areas over the past few days and was working on counterattacking Russian troops on the flanks of the city. Speaking on television, Eastern Operations Command spokesman Serhiy Cherevity reported that Russian troops were trying to capture Ukraine's last stronghold in Bakhmut. a string of buildings and fortifications southwest of the city. International observers, including the Institute for the Study of War, appear to have confirmed Russia's capture of Bakhmut. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported on May 24 that Russia had lost 204,760 troops in Ukraine since the start of its full-scale invasion on February 24 last year. This number includes the 400 casualties that the Russian forces have suffered over the past few days. The latest update quotes Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar as stating that combat operations have decreased in and around the city and Ukrainian troops are continuing to hold their positions near the MiG-17 monument in western Bakhmut. During the early part of 2023, the route to Bakhmut gradually came under the control of Russian troops, and the battle for the city turned inch by inch, with Ukrainian troops repelling dozens of attacks each day. Only 2 exits to the west remain beyond Russian control, although for Ukrainian troops trying to resupply the city, the entry was treacherous. Before they began their slow push through the city center, Wagner's troops first attempted to encircle the city in a wide arc from the north. In January, they claimed the nearby town of Soledar, and then captured a series of villages and hamlets north of Bakhmut, making the town's Ukrainian defense even more treacherous. But even as Moscow troops closed in and most of the population fled through dangerous evacuation corridors, small groups of Ukrainian civilians remained in the devastated city. A Russian military blogger shared a video purporting to show Wagner's troops near the monument and claiming that there were no Ukrainian troops in the area, ISDO reports. East Ukraine Forces Group spokesman Colonel Serhiy Cherevity also said that Ukrainian troops had advanced 200 to 400 meters along the side of the town, and that the Ukrainians still controlled buildings and fortifications southwest of Bakhmut, according to ISDO updates. Meanwhile, another Russian military blogger denied reports that Ukraine had gained an advantage during its counterattack in the northwest and southwest of the city.